Welcome, guys, to another Let's Play in history. I'm excited to play this. We are going to be playing Sly Cooper 2. God, I love this game so much. Forgot, I think I played this earlier. I almost beat it. Or I did beat it. Band of Thieves is by far the best game and one of the best sequels of any game you're ever going to play, to be honest with you. It is everything that you want it to be. Everything that you would hope for it to be. And all the problems with the first game are largely fixed and corrected in the second game, thank God. And one of the reasons why I'm starting with the second game is because I do enjoy the first game, and I probably should play it at some point because it tells the main bulk of the story. But not to say that it's outdated, it's just it's a very difficult game to actually play, especially for a kids game, which is quite funny. Forgot how to play this game. I seriously forgot how to play this game. Oh God. The brains. Bentley. Should also probably put on subtitles if I can. Okay, no subtitles. Not to mention, too, we're going to briefly talk about the election of 1816 as well.
Thanks, pal. For your first time out, you did pretty well.
Oh, this operation is far from complete. Now that the lasers and spotlights are offline, Murray should be moving into position for your rendezvous. I'll stay here and provide computer support while you go on ahead.
The election of 1816. Remember, this is post-war of 1812. Was an election between James Monroe with his running mate. Oh. Cool little throwback to the first game, as these are mainly the villains from the first game that you fight against. This election in particular was between James Monroe, with his running mate being Daniel Tompkins, and as a Democratic Republicans or Jeffersonians, against the Federalist, the last gasp of the Federalist Party, with Rufus King being the nominee and his running mate being John E. Howard. And at this point, understand it is 1816. It's not just the 13 colonies anymore. It is numerous different states have been admitted to the Union, notably like Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, Louisiana as well.
Greetings, citizen. I hope you weren't harmed by my meteoric entrance.
No, Murray, I kept it a safe
Now,
distance.
background for this. This was post-war of 1812.
Either friend or
Renewed American enthusiasm and identity in a lot of ways,
Channel some of that
but also
through the
just
security gates.
sheer chaos within the Federalist Party. Um,
Okay, all clear. Another barrier stands before you. Fear not, I shall bend it like the truth.
Freaking Murray. I love this guy.
Solid work, Murray. You're really in the zone.
My hulking frame is too much for that puny rope. You go ahead and unlock the doors from the inside. I'll be waiting in the hallway to help you carry out the clockwork parts.
But Democratic Republicans had largely dominated. Mr. Tompkins himself was a very popular governor of New York. A lot of presidents and presidential candidates and figures are usually the governor of New York. I always find that interesting. But specifically and clearly, immediately, the two biggest issues I would say for the Federalist Party were that the waning support and Democratic Republican outreach and the overwhelming support that they had received hurt Federalists, obviously. And number two, the biggest reason for that was because the war for a lot of Americans had largely seemed to be successful, considering Great Britain is even more powerful than they were during the American Revolution, and we were able to at least hold them off. And Federalists, for the most part, had largely did not want the war, and they were completely against and discredited for opposing the war.
I'm just saying that there are other criminals in the world other than Sly Cooper. After him. Take him back, you ringtail.
It didn't help, too, that James Madison had actually adopted quite a few Federalist policies during his time as president as well. The biggest one specifically that would be an issue later on would be the advocacy and push for a national bank.
You can't run forever.
Oh, Carmelita.
Stop, thief.
This is getting a little hot. You guys go warm up the van.
I know she wants me.
Carmelita busy.
You're all going to jail.
Pick me up at the rendezvous.
Oh.
Stop, thief.
God, what kind of gun does she have?
Can't run forever.
I don't think that's police issued. Carmelita, real one. She a big 2A advocate. Although I'm pretty sure we're in... Where the heck are we? I don't think we're in France. No, this looks like Egypt.
I'm headed toward your position. Jump in fast so we can get out of here.
Hold still. I'll find you, Cooper.
Carmelita's just as angry as ever. She's really quite lovely when she's angry. That Constable Mila. Was her reference to the claw game just a slip of the tongue? Or an intentional clue? Either way, it's her only lead on the missing clockwork parts. Clockwork. He was consumed with jealousy for the Cooper clan's thieving reputation. Is it inappropriate to refer to him as a monster? No, not at all. What kind of person stays alive for hundreds of years with the express intention of wiping out a rival's family line? Imagine the hatred fueling that first decision to replace his mortal body with soulless machinery. Ultimately, it did the trick, clockwork lived on. He caught up with my parents, and I wound up in an orphanage. It's there that I met my pals, Bentley, the brains of our outfit, and Murray, the brawn. They turned out to be all the family.
Now, long story short, I would probably say the three biggest things that pertain to this election was rebuilding the American economy. Great Britain had come in and destroyed a lot of things in the United States. It had left a very destructive trail, which Madison and a lot of the Democratic Republicans had implemented. The First National Bank, protective and protection tariffs overseas, which really benefited farmers in the South in particular. I would also say some level of political stability, I think, is a big one that they really advocated for and the people wanted and needed. I would also probably say another issue was not necessarily the right to vote, but I think a bit of an issue was the growing class disparity between rich and elites versus the poor and downtrodden. And unfair or not to the Federalists, a lot of them were viewed as the individuals who were
Unfortunately, the art world wasn't quite ready for his
rich, middle class, elitist type individuals.
gave him what they wanted,
Many of them being the industrialists in the North in particular.
punishing those with bad taste. Dimitri now runs a nightclub on the west side. The thumping music
And I would also say probably some levels of strong leadership overseas, because we were just attacked again by Great Britain and another war had just broken out. So probably want some stability at home, at least overseas. And fair or not, again, to the Federalists, at least the Democratic Republicans, and James Monroe in particular being, I think he did hold two positions in Madison's cabinet as the Secretary of War, and I know at the very least he was the Secretary of War and Secretary of State, I believe. Those are probably the biggest issues, I would say, as well as expansion westward. One of the states actually would be contested, which was Indiana, because I think that was one of the more recent states to be admitted to the Union, which led to some difficulties for the Federalists. And if you had to do a poll, a canvassing, now if you had to do a poll and canvassing, you probably would say that that Monroe was like the clear winner, just without a doubt. He was probably at least minimum 10-15 points in the polls, probably even higher before all this.
I've installed this special antenna on the safe house to help with our first job, hacking into Dimitri's satellite array. The coordinates for the job start beacon have been uploaded.
And in particular, a lot of it had to do with just the fact that the Federalists really were running on basic fumes at this point. They were basically just trotting out Rufus King. I don't even think they had a legitimate nominating process for the presidency during that point.
Slide. If you click the L3 button, press the left analog stick. I'll beam some virtual markers into your beacon.
How do I sneak?
They'll help you find your way around. If no markers are in view, use the right analog stick to move the camera and look around for them. Rip slide. I need you to hack into Dimitri's communication array so that we'll have...
And Rufus King, despite having name recognition, just wasn't as popular. Monroe, at the very least, had name recognition overseas and abroad, and was a founding father who fought in the Revolutionary War, who helped lead us during the War of 1812, led the military, and, showed he had some balls, basically. So, again, fair or not, but... Disable these satellites
Markers for interactive objects like this satellite dish. When you're near these markers, press
and get their information.
the object. Great. The first one's in position. I've uploaded the next waypoint into your fleet fast imager. Remember, click the L3 button to locate your next objective.
Okay. As you can see, it's been a very long time since I played this game.
Okay, only one more to go. Activate your fleet fast imager by pressing the L.
God, I forgot what those bottles were for. They were for something really, really important.
Remember, the view is always better from a rooftop. Fly, you can hold down the R1 button while walking to break into a fast run, but be careful, as this is sure to be loud enough to alert any guards in the vicinity.
Beautiful.
Nice work, Sly. I'm downloading from Dimitri's mainframe as we speak.
All in a night's work. So, where do we go from here?
Your next job is to break into the nightclub and take some reconnaissance photos of the clockwork tail feathers. Get inside.
I also really appreciated the mission structure of this game, because I actually did feel like a thief.
Okay.
Breaking, entering to various different places, getting information whenever I could. Not to mention, as I explained earlier, Federals really just didn't have anything to campaign on. This is one of the few times in the history of this country where it's not necessarily that there aren't a lot of problems, but it seems like the right people are already in charge, and, you know, why mess with, you know, the ship? Chicka-chow, chicka-chow. Stay down. You are a annoying bugger.
To get over this thing, you'll have to double jump. Hit the X button to jump, then, while in the air, press it again to get some extra air time. Looks like you're on your own from here.
I'm used to it. Thanks for the help.
Anytime, partner.
Now, what didn't help the Federalists either was that turnout in the selection was very, very poor, and especially in the northeastern part of the country, where they probably could have had a couple more states had things been a little different.
Head on. Crawl under the tables to sneak around him.
Yeah, okay. I remember how to do that. Oop. Oh. Ah, dang it. I was too quick. That one's on me. That one's on me. And by the time the election comes around,
In order to shut down those yellow lasers, you'll need to take out that guard. Sneak up behind him and press the triangle button to knock him into the air. Then the square button to slam and finish him off. Got that? The triangle, that sneak attack slam move only works on guards who haven't seen you. Wait until this guy turns his back, and
just
then
gonna wait
let him
just in
have it.
case. Oops, it's not what I wanted. Give me that health. By the time the election rolls around, it is largely. Do I fight these guys?
If you get in a fight with those rats, the sneak attack won't work. It's purely a stealth move. Aha! Another air vent.
Oh, cat's out of the bag.
Find that angle, it should lead to the printing press room.
Now, where do I go? Can I hit this? Yep. Okay. By the time the election rolls around, it's just not even a contest. Ultimately, James Monroe easily wins.
And take some reconnaissance photos. Tap the R3 button, click the right analog stick to bring up your binocular. It's already outfitted with a spy cam. Why? Use the right analog stick to zoom in and out on photo targets. Tap the R1 button to take a picture when you've got a good shot. That generator seems to be
What?
powering the security systems down here.
James Monroe wins. You only needed about 110 or so electoral votes. He wins 183. Rufus King only wins 34. And basically, Monroe carries 16 states to Rufus King's 3. I mean, it is just an abysmal popular vote for Rufus King. Basically, with Monroe winning roughly about 75% of the popular vote in comparison to Rufus King.
The recon photos are a grim reminder of what the modern thief is up against. Spotlights, stepped-up patrols. The sum of it all renders a direct assault impossible. To solve this puzzle, I'm going to need some more intelligence. First, replace this bug painting with one Dimitri has in his office. Once in place, we should be able to listen in on his communications. Second, if you see the boss, tail him. We might learn something from studying his movements. Once we've got a proper understanding of the operation, those clockwork tail feathers...
Now, the election of 1820. That's a very interesting one. And I think should have been a much more interesting prelude than really anything else. But I will say this.
Bring up your binocular by pressing the R3 button. The right analog stick that adjusts the camera. Click it to look for your binoculars. They'll be useful for finding the new job starts I've placed around town. Plus, they'll let you read the job title.
The election quite literally was just James Monroe.
Managed to outfit this fool with
and he ran unopposed. One pretty much the only time since in the history of this country that a singular presidential candidate would run unopposed. There were numerous reasons for this. Most of the country had consolidated to the ideals of the Democratic Republican Party, and the Federalist Party basically just kind of just gave up and died. Da-da-da-doo. Do-do-do-do. Oh, I'm supposed to go over there. How the heck am I supposed to get up there? Oh. Oops. Now, this election's interesting for numerous reasons. Because despite Monroe pretty much just running unopposed and getting almost 100% of the popular and electoral college votes, I don't think this was a strong election for Democratic Republicans or Jeffersonians, and I think was a precursor of things to come. Now, the background of this information: Monroe's president. He's pretty much not necessarily a do-nothing president, but I mean, there's really no problems. He's just kind of running things, just normally, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not good. We're gonna fix this, hopefully. So this doesn't become a growing issue. Oh. I don't think I can take damage. Haha. No. Crap. Crap. God. But despite a lot of the things that they were doing, which was supposed to be, normal stuff, there was an incredible malaise within the country, I would say. The economy wasn't really significantly improving. It was taking a long time. There were a lot more government interventions that forced the government, or, well, I don't want to say infringement on people's rights, but, they're going to be increasing taxes, etc., and yada yada. And this is not... Oh, yeah, that's what the... completely forgot that's what all that was for. I think it's here, right? Yep, okay.
Avoid getting spotted by the flashlight guards. If you get caught, you can run away by holding down the R1 button.
go home. Oh, shoot. I'm the best sneaky boy.
I just intercepted an email from Dimitri. He's ordered his guards to ring the boat's bell when the coast is clear.
Coast is clear for what?
Of that I'm uncertain. Ring the bell and follow him without being seen. Then maybe we'll find out what he's hiding.
Oh yeah. Okay. The nightclub owner. But ultimately, just people were not happy. Not overall. And I think it was more so just a level of discontent in a lot of ways. People's lives were just a little bit more difficult, and I don't think they had a lot of faith in what the federal government was doing. Long story short, really. But it's also just one of those unfortunate situations where they just don't have any other option. No other, individuals, no other political groups to go to that are going to be hearing their points of view, their perspective, And say what you will about parties and political systems ultimately. But I think there are reasons for it that ultimately are just always going to manifest itself, and it's because of stuff like this, Because truth is that I don't think we're ever going to be unified under one specific message. We'll be unified in certain beliefs, for sure, but a singular message, that's going to be a little difficult to come by. I think he puts in a code that I have to look at.
You won't be able to see what Dimitri is doing from up on that water tower. Go down for a closer view.
Smooth. Keep it smooth.
Good job tailing him, Sly. He had no idea you were watching while he typed in that secret code. Hold on. Looks like that door leads to the nightclub's aqua pump. This might be useful for the
But to make this short and sweet, James Monroe wins most of the states.
This is a job for Murray. Come back to the safe house to switch characters.
Some electors defected to, I think actually John Quincy Adams, surprisingly enough. And the biggest thing too for me is that the turnout for the selection was one of the worst turnouts in the history of this country, at least in the probably just in the history of this country, to be honest with you. Running. Thwack. I mean, imagine if like 8% of the country voted. Like, that's it. Just 8%.
I need you to make your way back to the aqua pump room and sabotage it.
Jeez, I don't know. How am I supposed to get past these lasers?
You should be able to break that power box by throwing something at it. Press the circle button to use your stomp move near the ice machine to pick up a block of ice. Then press the square button to throw the block at the power box.
Hit the circle button to pick stuff up and the square button to throw.
Oh crap! What do I have to do?
Heads up, if you leave this area, you'll abandon your current job. You're strong, Murray. Try picking up
About to
on
say, I'm pretty sure that's what I have to do. Come on, Murray. Am I doing this wrong?
enemies that are knocked out can be picked up with your stomp move. Throw something at that guard, then jump up there and pick him up with the circle button.
Like punching y'all. Oh. Sorry, Murray.
Toss the rats into that open water main and plug up those pipes.
I'm just straight up killing these people. Boom. Just committed 6 acts of murder right there, but whatever.
They'll be forced to root water through the old pipe tower. Those fools, they're playing.
These people don't have families or anything. They're just bad guys, you know?
Okay, fellas, I've constructed a plan to get at the clockwork tail feathers, but we'll need to pull off a few more jobs to set things up for the heist. First, Sly will have to pick a few pockets in the theater so that we'll have access to the Spotlight Control Center. Once that's accomplished, we'll be able to turn off all the security around the printing press. We'll need your muscle, Murray, to take out all the exterior alarm horns. We don't want anything to alert the guards while we pull off the big job. And finally, we'll need to get into the discotheque to drop.
I think we're going to stop this part right here. I'm going to try and make these videos a little bit shorter, hopefully. I do hope you guys like and subscribe. I'm definitely excited to play this game, so I'm going to keep continuing it. But until then, God bless y'all, rock.